Hi guys, I'm clearly aware that I'm not really like dressed or looking quite presentable for the presentation of this video. I think it was one of those videos I just decided to film on the spur of the moment, so again it's really not planned in the slightest, but I felt the need to clear up some of these misconceptions about arranged marriages versus like introduction marriages and just being Indian in general. I get asked all the time by subscribers, by viewers, by people at work, people I randomly meet in day-to-day life, if I'm gonna have an arranged marriage. There are like two types of things that go on in the world. Okay, so the first thing is the typical arranged marriage. So what this means is you don't have a choice in the matter. Your parents, and this basically used to happen back in the days, like I'm talking like my grandparents and before that time, okay? So this is the days of the arranged marriages where you didn't get a choice in the matter of who you were marrying. You were told by your parents who you were going to marry. Sometimes the arrangement of the marriage was organised before you were even born. So two old men in like some old village in India decided that they were friends and they both had an equal amount of money. So it was a case of, okay, well if I have a girl and if you have a boy, let's get them married. And that was like back in the day, those kind of things were arranged. And it was all dependent on how much money you had or what you did as a living or what you did as a trade. So that was like the arranged marriage back in the day. In my parents' like generation, they kind of like the process of like having an arranged marriage was kind of modernized slightly. So you'd still get the parents looking for a boy. It was normally like a friend or a family member coming to the parents and saying, look, we know a boy, he's really of the age of marriage, and we know that your daughter is single and we're just wondering if we can hook it up. So again, the mum and dad would kind of look at how much money the family had, the education of the boy, and you know, decide if it was like a good thing to do. And then if it was like, if the parents were happy, the girl and the boy would meet up, so like in front of everyone, like boy, girl and parents all staring, and the boy and girl are allowed to meet each other, have a cup of tea together, and then decide if they want to get married. So when my parents got married, that was kind of how it happened with them, but my parents got a choice in the matter. So they were introduced by my dad's mum's side of the family, and my mum and dad met in a living room, and again there were lots of people there while they were introducing. And then the parents suggested that they go into a room and like have a little conversation, see if they liked each other. And at the time my mum was a little bit unsure, so she went back to her parents and said, okay, look, I've liked the boy, but I'd like to see him again a few more times, just to make sure that he's the right one. So within 6 months my parents were then married, and I know that doesn't sound like a very long time, but so the whole concept of like arranged marriages doesn't really happen in the UK anymore to any Asian people that I know of. I'm sure it still happens, but it doesn't happen to anybody that I know. So normally the whole introduction thing happens. So it's not so much an arranged marriage, because that doesn't happen so much anymore. I'm certainly not going to have an arranged marriage. My parents have done the whole introduction thing, so they've tried to set me up with boys and I've gone to meet them and stuff. But again, with the way that it happened with my parents is their parents were there at the same time. Whereas in the case of my parents, if they tell me about a guy and they want me to meet him, then I'll go and meet him by myself. We'll go on a date, we'll have a cup of coffee, we'll go out for lunch, and then I will come back and probably just avoid answering my phone ever again. So that's the way that it happened with me. And then you've got my parents who are like really, really chilled out. And my parents are like, look, if you find someone yourself, that's fine, go and find someone. If you don't, we will happy to introduce you, because we still get people ringing the house for me and my sister. And they don't even know us, they've never met us, they just know that we're from, you know, like a middle class family. They kind of know that my parents are Patels, they kind of know where we're from back home, and so they do their little research, and then they find out that, you know, one of us is an optician and one of us is a dental nurse. And then usually we get phone calls. We still get phone calls because, you know, people are just asking if I'm single and my sister's single. And sometimes my parents will be like, look, there's a boy, do you want to speak to him? And I'm like, no. Sometimes my parents are like, no, she's with someone, or they'll just make something up. So that is how it works. So there's really when people ask about arranged marriages, no, it doesn't work like that. Introductions still happen all the time. Like, I've got loads of friends that are being introduced. I've got loads of friends that were introduced and then married. I've been introduced to loads of guys. I think I will do horrible dates next because I know that is like in demand. That is like the reason I've gone down the route to find my own boy, because I've done the introduction thing. I'm not saying it doesn't work. I'm sure it works absolutely fine. But the people in my family that seem to set me up on dates seem to not know me in the slightest. And also quite clearly not know the boys in the slightest as well. So I've decided I don't trust anyone in my family. I'll leave that bit to me. So that is the whole misconception of the arranged marriage. I don't think it can't work out. I don't think to say that, you know, you can't fall in love with somebody. But me personally, I would want to be in love with them before I married them. So to me, the whole dating thing is completely necessary. But there are some people that are very tolerant out there, unlike me. I'm not a very tolerant person. Like, if I don't like you, I don't like you. So if I was introduced to a boy and I didn't like him, I would just say, look, I don't really think it's going to work. There's not really any connection there. Okay, let's go home, bye. But if I wanted to see him again, then yeah, sure, I would definitely text and say, let's meet up again. Really enjoyed today, blah, blah, blah. So there are a couple of guys I've met up with more than once, and there's a couple of guys I will just want to change my telephone number. But, you know, you have to kiss lots of frogs to find your prince. So that is the moral of the story. That is the end of this video. If you have any questions or you have just a general opinion on the whole situation, I'd be really, really interested to hear it. I'd be really interested to know if you met somebody through your parents and it worked out. I'd be really interested to know if you met someone through your parents who turned out to be a psycho. Because I like stories, like I like these kind of things. So if you have any video responses to this would be amazing as well. So just to clear up the whole arranged marriages misconception, it doesn't really happen like that in the UK, but I'm sure in other places it probably still happens quite often. So that is my little video. I decided to do that randomly on the spur of the moment. I'm sure it was really rambly and you guys really didn't appreciate that, but thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.